Hello and welcome to the ASU Experience podcast. I'm your host, Irmun.
Hello, I'm your podcast. Wait, what do I say?
I'm your host. Just like
Okay, I'm your host, Talk Teacher.
oh wait,
Oh wait. Oh,
okay. And today for our first ever episode, we have our secondary school's principal, Mr. K. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Can I pick up the mic like
If
this?
you
Do I
want
talk like
to.
this? Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Mr. K. I'm your secondary school principal.
Wow. So today, I feel like at school, you're just like, you have a very serious vibe. And today, in this podcast, you can open up all you want. You can get comfortable and just talk all you want.
Okay.
So the first question we have that I feel like you should just kind of answer is like, just like a short little explanation about yourself.
So let's talk about myself.
Yeah, it's like
All
just
right.
fun facts, you know.
Fun facts about me. Um. Well, first off, thank you for inviting me to your first podcast. It's an honor to be a part
Oh,
of this
wow.
amazing thing. No, in all seriousness, this has been a huge goal that we have been trying to implement for years, and I'm glad that it's finally taking some strides and success. So I appreciate, and I'm honored to be the first guest. Let's see. So drop the serious facade. Okay, I'm not serious
Okay.
anymore. All right. Well, what would you like me to talk this about me?
Yeah, this is just all about you. You can talk about anything about
All
yourself.
about
just like a
me,
random
man.
fact. What you ate for breakfast? I don't know.
Well, let's see. My name is Tom. Kawaloku is my last name.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Well, that's okay. A lot of people don't. In fact, I'm not even pronouncing it correctly.
Oh, really?
I say that for the what we call in Hawaii the Howies, which is the Hawaiian translation for foreigners, kind of like Gatatun. It's the same thing. We call them Howies.
Oh.
And so, just in case you want to know, I am half Hawaiian, and I have the right to say that. Let's see. My father, he's Hawaiian. He grew up in Hawaii. He was a military brat.
Oh.
He moved all around the states. He served in Vietnam at the later years of it. He was an Army Ranger.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, my childhood was a little bit more on the serious side of things sometimes. My mother, she is from Texas. As far as her ethnicity, I believe it's German and Irish. But yeah, and then they had my brother first. I have an older brother who's 4 years older than me, and then and then I came along. So that's my parents, and then my brother. Since I mentioned him, he's actually also an educator. He works. He's kind of like Mr. Billy, but at a university level. So he handles the incoming freshmen at the university that he works at. Him and his wife, they reside in Florida near Daytona Beach, which actually their town is called New Smyrna, and it's the shark capital of the world.
Ooh.
Yeah. So let's see. That's a little bit about my family. I have 3 step siblings as well. They're all younger than me. In fact, funny enough, my younger stepbrother, one of them, his name is Tom, which is confusing. And then I have a stepsister. She's also in education. And then I have another stepbrother named Alex, and my sister Sarah. Growing up, my stepmother really encouraged me to be the best version of myself. I met her when I was 16, and she really helped me out, especially with the college applications and getting me to actually live up to my potential. So she was definitely one big factor in my life that I truly appreciate. And then, yeah, that's just kind of a little bit about me and my growing up. I could talk a little bit more, but I'm going to stop and let you ask another question.
Okay. I love how like everyone in your family is kind of in like the education side. But you said everyone like kind of lives in America?
Yeah, my father, stepmother, and my mother all reside in Dallas, in the Dallas Metroplex, which is in Texas. And then my brother and his wife, they live in Florida. But yeah, my family lives in the States.
So like a question I have is like, when everyone's in America, why did you choose Mongolia?
Oh, there's several reasons why I chose to get away.
Oh.
No, initially I graduated from university in the winter of 2012. I believe.
Oh,
And
I
when I graduated, I then spent the next 5 months contemplating what I wanted to do as far as a teacher. I graduated with my undergrad in education as an educational generalist. And I knew that I didn't want to stay in the States and teach. Several reasons being, one is that I wanted to travel. I wanted to go. I wanted to go abroad. I wanted to do something meaningful. I was young. Yeah, I was like what, 23? No, 22.
Oh.
And I just wanted to make a change in the world.
Wow.
So
Mm-hmm.
I applied. A girlfriend at the time encouraged me to apply for a program called Peace Corps.
Oh.
Have you guys heard of it?
No, what is that?
So John F. Kennedy, a little history lesson. John F. Kennedy, one of the presidents of the United States. I'm sure you guys know him.
Yes.
Fun fact. Well, not really fun, kind of depressing. He got assassinated in the same city I was born in.
Oh.
And even more interesting fact, they took him to the same hospital that I was born in.
Oh.
But let's just make it clear. I wasn't at the hospital when he was taken there. That was in 1963, I think. I was born in 1989. Anywho, where was I going? Oh, I was convinced to throw an application in for Peace Corps. And at the time, that was Barack Obama who was president. And he kind of had oversight of the program. I mean, I've never met the guy. But he really pushed for the Peace Corps initiative. And the whole point of Peace Corps is for Americans, citizens of the United States, to go to developing countries and help in certain sectors. And the sector that I obviously would be education. And so when I applied, and at that time, you couldn't choose what country you went to. I hear nowadays you can actually choose what country you go to. But I listed Mongolia as one of my top 5 countries I wanted to go to. Not ironically enough, weirdly enough, my first country of choice was, you guys want to guess? It's in the headlines quite a bit nowadays. Good guess, but no. The other war.
Russia?
Russia doesn't allow Peace Corps.
Oh, Ukraine?
Yes. Yeah, I had to apply for Ukraine. So I really wanted to go to a post-Soviet state. I don't know why I was kind of obsessed with this post-Soviet stuff. And so Mongolia was like my number 5 choice. And then I got assigned Mongolia. So during the spring before I left in June, I worked on getting my teaching license, got all my teaching credentials, and then I got assigned to my assignment, got shipped to Mongolia. I came here in a cohort of about 43 Americans, and we all were in different sectors. I was in the English teaching sector, and then there was the health sector for people who are more aligned with being doctors or nurses, and then there was the community outreach program for like social workers. And so when I got here for Peace Corps, you do 3 months of training, and they assign you they give you to a family in the countryside. And I was out in Orhan Som. It's also called Orhan Jimis, which is by Darhan. It's
I've been
about
there.
30 minutes away from Darhan. And I lived in a ger for 3 months with my Hasha family. And then during that time, we got intensive cultural training, Mongolian training, and then we did our application training, which was going into a school for a summer school program at the public school there, and then working in there. That was quite the experience. Did that, and I was in a smaller group at that time because we got spread out everywhere. So I was with a group of like 7 people. And then after we finished that pre-service training, then we like graduated into Peace Corps, and then they brought us to the city, had a big celebration. We had to do a language speaking test. And then we all got assigned to different places around Mongolia. I got assigned to Irnet, and I worked at school number 7, which is in a little ger district outside of the city, about a 10-minute drive. It's called the Dinj. It's by Moise out there. And my primary role was a teacher trainer for primary educators, but I also worked at the secondary school and taught English classes to grades 6 to 12. Worked with 6 counterparts that were Mongolian, so taught them a lot about pedagogy, classroom management, stuff like that. Did that for 2 years, and then I left, and then I really knew I wanted to teach abroad professionally, and I knew Mongolia, so I decided to come back.
Did you adapt to the cold like during the winters when it's like almost as like the same as Antarctica basically? Like it's really cold.
Yeah, honestly, being from Texas, you would think that I would struggle with the winter, and also, being that I am Hawaiian. But honestly, I prefer coldness. I'm very hot all the time. Fun fact. And I like dry weather. So when the winter came around, I actually preferred it. Yeah, I mean, it was like shocking, like how cold it actually could get. And when you're outside, I mean, there's been times when I'd be standing outside and I would say to myself, well, if I stand out here any longer, I'm most likely gonna freeze. That's a daunting thought for some people. But the fortunate thing about being a Peace Corps volunteer is that you get trained on how to mitigate a lot of situations. That is one of them. They give you training on how to deal with the cold. They give you like heads up on which parts of your body are going to freeze first. Which, by the way, do you guys know which part of your body will freeze first?
I think is it your toes, fingers, your eyelids, because it's like the thinnest layer or something.
All good guesses, but surprisingly enough, because you have to think you're moving really fast because you're probably trying to get warm, and this is assuming that you can walk. It's your thighs. Your thighs will get cold first. Also, they were like, you don't hold grocery bags while you're walking outside because then your hands will get frostbite. So Peace Corps really did a sufficient job training us for those kind of things. So the coldness wasn't really a huge factor. It took an adjustment, but it wasn't a big thing for me. I actually prefer the wintertime here.
So I had a question about the cultural shock because I'm pretty sure, it's a huge difference between Texas and Mongolia, and I just wanted to listen to a few cultural shocks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's obviously quite a few. Trying to think of some more entertaining ones. Well, as you know, there's 3 of everything. If you go to a household, you have to do everything 3 times.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest cultural shocks I had was that's actually a good question. There's so many. Mongolia, to me, and talking about Mongolian people, Mongolia is known for being hospitable.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting because the Mongolians are very hospitable. But there's a big difference between the hospitality that I know and the hospitality that is present here. And if you know anything about Texans are very just like, hey, howdy, how are you doing? And they're always like, you walk by someone and like you don't even know that person, they say hi, and that's just Texas. You go to another part of the country in the United States, like New York, and you say hi to somebody, they think you're a creep, right? But here, and I don't think it's just a Mongolian thing, but it is hospitable, but it's almost like if you have to ask for it. No one's going to go out of their way unless you're like literally dying. No one's just going to go out of their way to help you. I mean, people are helpful, but like once you ask, then you get the full thing. They'll do everything for you, and that's something that's really cool. So it's almost like a authentic hospitality. Whereas, I don't mean to talk bad about my Texans here, but it's a lot less face value, and it seems a lot more real. Even though you had to ask for it, but I think that's something that's, I guess, a cultural shock was the interesting thing for me.
Yeah, so today I got a few snacks that you should try. So do you have any like favorite snacks that you like?
I have a lot of favorite snacks that my wife will no longer let me eat. Would you like to know what they are?
Do you prefer chocolate or more like gummy, like jelly type?
Gummy and jelly type.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like you would like sour worms.
And that's the next thing, sour.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, sour worms.
Actually, but I do prefer hard candies. But if you got gummy jellies, that's fine. I'm assuming. Are you like trying to get me to eat something?
Yes. So, speaking of like jelly, I have this thing. It was kind of like a trend, I guess, and we should try it. So.
Okay.
On TikTok, can you give it's okay? So on TikTok, you know how traditionally you would traditionally you would take this off, right? But on TikTok, they just bite into this and like the whole thing, just like you just get it, I guess.
Wait, so I pretend that this is a real strawberry and I'm supposed to
bite it. Yeah, but it could go completely wrong, and just if it's not even, it could just like go out the other way.
What if it gets
and
on
makes
my
a
clothes?
mess.
I have my nice clothes
So
today.
you need to be really careful. Yeah,
Okay.
so
All right.
you basically, from the side, you just like, and then like bite into
This-
it.
I feel like you should show me how to do this.
Okay, I'm scared. I'm bad at this. Oh, wait.
Oh, you got it on your pants.
Oh, no. Yeah, be careful. It can get a little messy, but it tastes good.
Okay, Sock, your turn.
I'm extremely sick right now.
Oh, you're
Oh.
extremely sick, he says.
Excuses, excuses.
Why can't I just drink it like a normal person? What is this? This is
I don't-
culturally shocking.
This is like what the people are doing these days, you know?
Those Gen Zers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm going to be upset if I get this on my suit.
Oh, no.
So, I bite into it, and the goal is for it to go into my mouth. Do you have any strategies on how to do this?
If you like just bite into a little, it'll like come out the other way. So you need to put like,
I'm going to use my coffee cup.
okay, be
What
careful.
if I get on you? I'm going to put the microphone down.
Okay. I'm scared.
I'm scared. All right.
And just bite. I feel it's gonna like explode. Oh, it went the other way.
I remember that went to my eye.
Oh, oops. It's okay, it tastes good. Do you prefer strawberries or grapes?
Strawberries.
Yes, me too. So,
For sour factor, though.
how is that?
It tastes like Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god. Did it really go in your eye?
It's okay. My eye, I can lose the eye. I can't lose the suit.
Wow. Okay, fashion.
I'm going to open one of these waters.
Wow.
It's time for sponsorship.
Wow, it's fun.
Vita.
No water.
Buy it at your local cafeteria.
Cafeteria for 2,000. I forgot what the price is, but.
I did get a little in my eye. Okay.
So, while you're cleaning, I'm a bit of a history nerd myself, and you taught me in middle school, and I think you were actually one of the best history teachers in middle school, especially during online school, because
Really?
it was a bit hard to pay attention.
Man,
in
that's a
online
great
school.
compliment. I feel like I was kind of faking it the entire time.
And I just wanted to ask, did you have like a hyper fixation on a certain historical concept?
Yeah. Growing up, I loved history.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, and most American boys are obsessed with war. Being that my dad was in the military, even made me more obsessed about it. I was the kind of boy who would always be like, "Dad, what'd you do in Vietnam?" And my dad would never actually tell me. But then I would pester him enough, and then he would like tell me like a really gruesome story, and I would never ask again. But anyway, so yeah, like I was just your stereotypical boy growing up playing war. So World War II, obviously, that's an easy one, right? But American history, and the one AP class that I was successful in was AP U.S. history. So I was really into U.S. history. That was something that I really liked. It's just, with the short amount of time that the U.S. has been around, which really is not that much time compared to most civilizations, how much the influences and how much they have an impact on the world. A lot of the things, that's why a lot of people look up to that country and what they do and how they do it. And anyways, and then if you grow up in the States, it's even more perplexing. And also the state that you grew up in, I grew up in I don't want to say Texas is conservative, but they're very proud. And not only proud Americans, but very proud Texans, to the point where it's kind of like they're going to succeed from the Union kind of thing. But yeah, so I was obsessed with that kind of stuff. And then when I went to university, I actually started off as a history. I started off as a secondary. I knew I wanted to coach. That's what I thought I knew I wanted to do. I grew up playing football. That's American football, not soccer. And I love that sport. I could talk about football. That could be a whole podcast by itself. But and I grew up playing that. And when I was in high school, a lot of my mentors were my coaches. And it's kind of a stereotype that coaches tend to teach history. So I was like, okay, I like history. I want to coach. That seems like an easy option. So I went to university. If you're a secondary school teacher in the States, you major in the content area. So I majored in history. So I took a lot of history courses, and then my I guess my secondary degree was secondary education. So I had some education courses along with that. So my freshman year, I did quite a bit of history courses, and that's what kind of opened my eyes up to more of the global perspectives of history. One really cool class I took was I forgot the exact title of it, but it was a lot about the history of genocides and totalitarianism. That was a fascinating course. So that's something that I was really like interested in. But yeah, history is kind of like something I could listen to history and read history. I'm always interested in the things that happen, and so deep down inside, I do appreciate all the things that teachers do for history. So, yeah, and I appreciate the fact that you actually thought I was a good history teacher. Thank you.
Yeah, you were in 8th grade. I remember for like one semester, you were the like world history teacher, and I think I learned like a lot.
Well, I do remember my emphasis in those classes were not necessarily to teach you guys the content. It was more about learning the skills of a historian, because those are important, especially if you want to go into that route with your life. So,
How does it feel?
I'm gonna
like,
drink this, by the way.
Oh,
I guess I have
wow.
to pay for it.
How does it feel like how you used to be a 5th grade teacher, and then you became like the middle school coordinator, and then the world history teacher, and now you're the principal. So how does it feel going through all these like different types of teaching jobs? What?
Well, that's a good question. Like I said, I started off university as a secondary with an emphasis in history as a secondary educator because I wanted to be a coach. But then I stumbled into elementary education because I fell in love with it. And so when I graduated, I then became a generalist instead, because as an elementary educator, it goes into a lot of pedagogy, classroom management, and also I just really like that age range. Also, my college counselors really encouraged me to do elementary education because there was a huge shortage of male teachers in that sector. And so, like, there was a lot of things. But then, to answer your question, as far as my time here at ASU, I did 4 years as a 5th grade teacher. Loved it. It was a great experience. About my 3rd year, I realized that I wanted to pursue maybe some administration, maybe some leadership roles. And so then I started my master's in educational leadership and focusing specifically on administration and policymaking. And then I got that degree after two years. And then after 4 years of teaching 5th grade, they asked me if I wanted to come into secondary school, take on the middle school coordinator position at the time. And being that I already knew all the students, it was quite easy. And then it got me really into the pastoral dean of student role, monitoring student behavior. Drove me crazy, but it's kind of part of the gig. And then simultaneously, at that time, there was a teaching aspect to it. So got me some experience with secondary education and just trying to mitigate that. And I got a chance to teach a subject that I really enjoy. And also at a level that I like. Not saying that teaching at a 5th grade level is not rewarding, but it's just not, the same. And then, then after that, I was asked to come up to the other role. So I don't know. It's been interesting. Honestly, there are major differences, but a lot of people ask me, the biggest question I get actually is what's the biggest difference between being the coordinator position, which now is called the secondary school coordinator, and then being the principal. And to tell you the truth, there are differences, but there are not that many. I think one of the things I find the most surprising is how I'm treated, how people approach me. And it's almost like being a coordinator or, which is essentially an assistant principal. I felt like students were a lot more comfortable with me. And then all of a sudden I became the principal and everybody became scared of me.
Oh.
So, and I get it. That's natural for everybody. And I think the biggest obstacle I've had to overcome as a principal is taking on that role and realizing that I'm not the number one person that students are going to go to all the time, because there's that factor there that this having a title does mean something. And yeah, that's been something that was hard for me to realize.
Bit of a random question, but I really wanted to know what movies you liked and what movies
Man.
defined
Movies.
who you are. Yeah.
Talk about movies all day. It sucks. I love movies. So the question was, what movies I really like?
Or any medium of.
I'm just glad that you didn't ask me what my favorite movie was, because
Yeah,
I have
it's
multiple
hard.
favorite movies, right?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, Christopher Nolan,
Yeah.
amazing director of our time, before my time even a little bit. I highly encourage watch all of his movies. He doesn't have that many. His first movie is called The Following. It's a great short movie. But then probably one of his movies that defined me when I was growing up. I don't know if it really defined me, but it inspired me to do some, like, just, I guess, I don't know. It inspired me to be who I was at the time. Memento. Memento is a fantastic movie, directed by Christopher Nolan, and I highly encourage that anybody and everybody watch it. It also kind of encouraged me to get tattoos, so I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. But yeah, that's a great movie. Let's see. I love all of his other movies too.
How many tattoos do you have?
I have 4. Yeah, I have 4 tattoos.
What's your favorite one?
Honestly, I don't really like any of them. Oh, wait, that's not true. I do. Okay. The most recent one I have, and the last one I will ever get, is one that I got when I got married with my wife, and it is a Gare silhouette. It's actually a Mongolian script, the word for Gare. And yeah, that's my favorite one. The one I find the most entertaining is my smiley face tattoo.
Oh, where
It is placed strategically in between my very, very dislike tattoo, my armband. And so I got this armband when I was 18. I turned 18. I was actually old for my grade. I turned 18 before my senior year. And so I got all the perks of being an 18-year-old while still in high school.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
right? So I got that tattoo, and I was like, oh, so cool. But then I hated it so much because it got way too much attention. Everybody was like, oh, look at that guy, he has a tattoo. And I was like, oh, man. And all the parents thought I was like a very naughty person, whatever. Just kidding. Parents loved me.
Wow.
But to offset that tattoo, I decided to get a smiley face. So I got a smiley face. So there's like an armband here, and then the smiley face is like located right there. Yeah.
And also, like, speaking of how you used to be a 5th grade teacher, how did you deal with those kids? Because I feel like if I was a 5th grade teacher, and like, I would kind of like go crazy if I always like saw like 10-year-olds every single day. I feel like I would be like a professor or something.
Yeah. Well, you know, that really just depends on, if you want to go into education, you find out really quickly what age group that you mesh with really well. Some people can mesh with specific age ranges. Some people can mesh with the whole thing, the whole spectrum. But before I move on to this question, I really would like to dive into movies more, but it's okay. I feel like that could be also a separate podcast by itself, movies.
Like 2 hours.
But anyways, Airman, your question. 5th grade, honestly, to me, is I preferred upper elementary. I've experienced teaching kindergarten, and I've experienced grade 1, grade 2. Grade 3, I did that for 1 year. I really loved grade 3 because that was a transitional year for kids. It's also about when the kids develop. So the big development changes for children as they get older is between grade 2 and grade 3. That's a huge jump. That's going from lower elementary to upper elementary. Before that, actually, is from kindergarten to grade 1. But I knew I didn't want to be lower education. It's a crazy world down there, and I have the most profound respect for anybody that can do it, because it really tries everybody, your patience, and you really have to have solid classroom management, pedagogy. Like, you have to know how to get a room full of 24 little minds to listen and that is difficult, especially when children are just beginning their education. So that takes a very specific talent. And there's some wonderful teachers at our school that can do that. And but I knew I wanted to do upper elementary because I think I had the attitude for it, maybe, or maybe this my disposition of that age range. It was still playful, but I could tell them a joke and they would understand it. You know, it didn't go completely over their heads. You can be a little sassy with fifth graders and sarcastic because they're just starting to be middle schoolers. And that is also a huge transition for kids, is going from fifth grade to sixth grade. That's like one of the biggest transitions that they have. And so I really took pride in preparing the best of my ability the kids that I had for them being ready to take on the daunting task of secondary life. Because it was almost like letting them go into an ocean full of sharks. And honestly, it's scary. And so you spend an entire day with your kids and they really do become your kids. And I mean that in that, you know, at secondary you have different teachers and I'm not saying that secondary teachers don't feel the same way, but I honestly felt I had an investment in all the kids, whether they were a behaved child or not a behaved child, studious, not studious, skilled or interested in different things. You get so into what they are and you want to be the best thing for them. And I'm super proud of those years, and I'm super proud to see that those kids are all grown up. I mean, some of them are here now, and getting ready for post-secondary life. So that was it's challenging. And yeah, fifth graders do stupid stuff, you know. I mean, I'm sure Theodore can recall some times when Mr. K got pretty upset with the class, but his class was actually pretty good. They were very well behaved, but they didn't really have much, to worry about because the class that preceded them was a really misbehaved class. Sure.
Yeah. Is it true some kids got held back from fifth grade?
Well, holding back?
Yeah, held back. Because since they're kids, right, and they're not
Language.
I'll blur this out. But she was like, some kids got held back.
When did she tell you that?
Like last year.
Okay, your mom might have been trying to scare somebody.
Like this, I heard some fifth graders got held back. I guess that was
It can happen. I mean, it's not uncommon. It's not an uncommon thing to happen. It's not common though here. If a child is going to be retained, which is a huge decision to make, most likely the child and the family decide to send that child to a different school. That's usually what happens. Yeah.
So the next snack I have here is called, I don't know how to pronounce this, hawthorn roll. And this, I thought it was like ham or something, but it's 100% fruit.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to try this.
As long as it doesn't squirt in my face, I'm fine.
Speaking of like fifth grade, I remember this one time really well. Sometimes it was like the day before spring break, and
Thank you.
it was like the day of spring break. Like it was a Friday, and like right after that we would have spring break, and I was like really excited. And the whole day I was just like ready to like go and hang out with my friends. And I remember like that one day I got sent to your room to like check. No, what's it called? Like timeout or something, like 3 times.
It's called think time.
Oh, think time, yeah. And I got sent 3 times because I was just like so out of my mind that day. Do you still remember that? Because sometimes like on just like a random Wednesday night, I just think about it and I'm like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing.
You know what? Honestly, Herman, I don't remember that.
Really?
Mr. Yarmart sent you over 3 times in one day.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Both of you looked so tired. You were like, oh, you again.
You know, I think I vaguely remember it because I was so surprised that you were being sent over. Because
Yeah,
you
usually
were
I'm
pretty
like-
behaved. You were pretty
Yeah,
behaved.
It was
Yeah.
just that day. Yeah. So,
Okay, let me try it. This actually reminds me of a childhood snack that we had. It's kind of like a fruit roll-up. Probably
yeah.
looks a lot healthier. Yeah.
no, it's hard to.
Miss Casual.
Ah,
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Geschel.
So scary.
These are good. Yeah, healthy versions of fruit roll-ups.
I thought this would be like it would taste interesting, but it kind of tastes good. I would like eat it.
Dr. Geschel, actually, she was my so as teachers we had to have mentors if we want to advance our careers. And so from going from like different types of license and blah blah blah. But anyways, I had to get a mentor. And Dr. Geschel was my mentor for 1 year. It was not your year, Theodore. It was the year before that. You know, she was a good mentor. Oddly enough, I actually took a course over the summer. It was called Technology Leadership. Talked a lot about AI and stuff and the implications of education. And Dr. Geschel was in my course.
Oh.
Yeah, small world. And
Wow.
the new ISU principal was in my course too.
Where's Dr. Crystal now?
Dr. Geschel, I don't know if I can tell you guys.
Oh.
She is on the other side of the world. How about that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, like we talked about school life. Now, I want to ask, how did you meet your wife?
Oh, man. This is a very uneventful story. We met in 2015 through a friend. He was Australian.
I'll see.
Yeah, that's really it. We met through a friend, and that's really the extent of that story. Yeah.
I always like see your kids and they're so cute.
Thank you.
Like, oh, it's so adorable. Like your daughter, right?
Both of them
Your
are
daughter
daughters.
doesn't know me, but just still like smiles and like runs around. It's like so adorable.
Well, I kind of question whether she really knows me too. Yeah, she's about to turn 2 actually. So,
Aw.
yeah, and then the other one is 6 months.
Oh, I feel like you'll blink and then they'll be like graduating or something.
That's what they say. I don't know.
Yeah, time
yeah.
goes fast.
It does, but then the days go by very slow.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also very mundane. It's kind of the same thing over and over again.
Another question is like, are you proud of your students, like the ASU students, how they're doing now, like the people who've graduated and the students like now, like us, the middle schoolers, the elementary schools, just everyone.
Well, so I'll unpack that question. Of course, I'm proud. I think ASU students are wonderful students, and I'm very proud to be a part of their lives. Of course, there are times when there is disappointment and there is hardships. I think that's just a normal part of children growing up, part of education. And so all the students have graduated, especially the ones I've known. So I've gone through now 4 cohorts of graduating classes since I've been at secondary. I'm extremely proud of all of them. I knew some of them more than I knew others, and now that the last year was the first graduating class where I actually knew almost every single kid because I taught them. Yeah, of course. I mean, there's some really good kids doing good stuff out there, and not kids anymore, adults. And then the current students that we have. Yeah, I am very proud of every student, and I'm starting to realize that eventually the school will have students in here that I have not taught. I haven't taught the current 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. I never taught them. And so my relationship with them is actually a lot more principal-like. Whereas, for obvious reasons, my relationship with, your class and your class and the current sophomores is a little bit more unique and special. Not special. Don't take that personally, younger grades. But it's just, I know you guys so much more.
Yeah.
And so it does make me, think about things in maybe a different way. Whether or not that's good or bad, I don't know. But it's very interesting. It's a unique experience that I have as a principal. I do these training courses with principals around the world during the summers, and when I talk to them, I tell them about my scenario. They say, well, that's just such a interesting thing to actually know the kids that you're the steward of. And so there's that part. But it will be weird one day, whether I'm at ASU or at a different school, when I'm actually a principal of kids I don't really know maybe that well. Yeah.
So should we start doing our end credits?
I guess so.
So before we end off, I have this right here called Bigfoot Dipper.
Oh, another snack. Oh
Another
man,
snack.
I'd have to take a sip of this Vito water. Wonderful, provided by the school
Wow.
cafeteria.
Just like as like an ending, like just like a funny question. What was your like most favorite haircut that you have had?
I'm glad that you asked this question because I really wanted to answer it. I actually, if there's one thing in this world I hate getting haircuts. I absolutely cannot stand it. I get so impatient, and I just hate. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is wasting time. And not that saying, and no discredit to all the hairstylists and barbers out there, but I just feel like I could be doing so much more with my time than sitting in a chair staring at myself. And I am horrible at getting haircuts. My wife can't stand it. She's like, "Why don't you just get a haircut?" But to answer your question, my most favorite haircut is the man bun because I don't have to get a haircut.
Like,
Just let it grow out. But my wife said I can't have that anymore because I'm a principal. And apparently that's not allowed. So
Yeah, it's like when you get a haircut and then you show like a reference photo to the hair. What's it called? Stylist cutter.
yeah,
Yeah,
Something.
hair cutter. They don't do the reference. They like make it completely different. And, like look so bad. So I'm like,
yeah, that's another thing. It's always inconsistent. The last haircut I got, I absolutely hated, and yeah. But then sometimes I get really good haircuts, and I'm like, oh, great for me. What is this? What am I eating?
this is so
Big
inside is
Bigfoot.
So you're supposed to like lick it and then you put it in here and then there's like the sour.
Oh,
thing.
that's the white powder coming out of this packet.
Yeah. So you can't like drop it because it'll just go everywhere. You have to like dip it in here and then like.
Okay. Sour. Okay. Kudos
like
to that.
sour,
I do
yeah.
like sour.
And for being our first guest, we were gonna try this throughout the podcast, but our time's running out. So I'll give you this as a gift.
Oh,
Thank you so
man.
much for coming on, being guest, and talking about your life.
No,
That-
no problem.
That ramen one is kind of disgusting though,
Yep.
because I tried it. I was like, oh, it's probably like really good, but they just put raw ramen with chocolate. It tastes so bad.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, so maybe not that one, but the M&Ms.
Hey, can't go wrong with M&Ms. Well, I appreciate you guys inviting me for your first podcast. I hope that this turns out to be a successful thing for you guys this year. And yeah, I hope this podcast was
Yeah.
a rewarding
This
experience.
is,
It was for me.
This is one of the best first episodes, you know. I think this is probably one of the best first episodes ever. I think this was a very profound conversation. We weren't planning to have a conversation this profound, and we're just pleasantly surprised at the outcome. And to end it off, I just on the onset of the 21st century, you know, social media has become a very big topic, and you know, I was talking about movies beforehand, and this is a bit off topic, but I just wanted to talk about a movie I watched by Stanley Kubrick,
Okay.
iconic director,
Uh-huh.
and I just wanted to mention the movie Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon?
Yeah,
I don't know this movie.
it's so
Barry
beautiful.
Lyndon.
What is it about?
It's just about this average Irish guy who gets mistreated all the time and then rises to the top.
Uh-huh.
The description is bad, but the art style, the beauty of it is very profound, and I think people would benefit from watching it, and they can appreciate movie making, and you know.
Does it tie into social media? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Very interesting.
you know, I've been using social media a lot, and I've also begun to kind of abandon movies and other forms of entertainment, like movies, and Barry Lyndon was just an amazing
Barry
movie.
Lyndon. I have to check this out. I
Yeah,
love
it's
Stanley.
so
Well, I won't say I love Stanley Kubrick, but
They say it's a classic because nobody wants to watch it, but people say it's the best.
well, there you go, audience. Listen to Stanley Kubrick watch Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
But not
And
Listen,
this is
watch Barry
podcast.
watch Barry Lyndon, but also watch Memento. That's a good movie as well.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to the students who are like just struggling with college or just struggling to fit in, just struggling in general, just like in one sentence? What advice would you give them?
It'll work out. I promise you. It will work out. You guys will get what you need to happen and everything will be okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. K, for coming on the ASU Experience podcast.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, successful first episode.
All right.
Yeah. See you on the next episode.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.